All right, the Detroit Lions have a draft steal rising up the depth chart. So a draft steal is already really awesome that we were able to steal this guy in the 4th round, but to see him actually doing well this offseason heading into training camp is really encouraging. Let me know 4th of July where you're at here. We're over in Grand Haven Spring Lake, excuse me. And one of the things I love about Lions fans is like people don't realize, yes, Detroit, of course, but Michigan is a huge state. And so Lions fans are all the whole state of Michigan. Yeah, there's some weird stuff up in the UP, some like Packers fans up there, but let me know in the comments where you're from. I mean, Alpena, Traverse City, Petoskey, Boyne. I mean, you could be up in there. You could be Lansing. You could be Jackson, Albion, South Haven, Battle Creek, Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids, of course. Let me know in the comments. I mean, you got Niles. I don't know. You get down in like southwest Michigan, they start becoming like Bears fans, which is just like, I don't know. I don't feel good about that. So let me know your thoughts, because people don't get it, right? They don't get that this is the whole state. And they got to see it last year with the playoff game and the crowd. I mean, how incredible that was. But even, the Lions traveling to the different stadiums and taking over, because we've got a lot of fans. Okay, here's the guy. It's our guy Vaki. We've talked about him, but there's some new information out about this guy. One of the things is Scotty Montgomery was talking about how they met this guy and how they knew right away he was going to be something different. And it was in the pre-draft visits that he won them over. And so prior to Detroit has this. Montgomery, the running backs coach, peppered Vaki with a ton of information about how the Lions use their running backs. This was intentional because Vaki had very little experience at the running back position. This is interesting. They love his instincts, the way he moves, his balance, his fluidity, all the things. But mental side of it, he hasn't really played running back. So they peppered him with information, because it's pretty clear now that we've followed the Lions that Ben Johnson, it's very complex, detailed. You got to know the smarts side of things. And so you can't just draft him on that. He has to know. So he gave it. He was able to regurgitate it really quickly. Then in the second meeting, a top 30 visit in Detroit, he comes back to that super prepared. When he came into the building, he had maybe watched all of our tape, about 80% of our schemes. He personally drew them out, different coverages, different fronts. He didn't know the name of it, but he knew the technical name of it. So when he sat down, he had a folder. He started opening it up, flipped through it, says, you guys can run this, right? Oh, yeah, against Las Vegas. And he was referencing last year. And so it was refreshing to see an old school mentality of just doing the work, not having anybody else do it for you. You have it all drawn out the way it needs to be drawn out, and then preparing for those visits in that way was impressive. Absolutely impressive, because he didn't know if he was going to get drafted by the Lions. So for him to like stick in there, do his thing, be all about preparing, even though it's like, I don't know, I could get drafted by somebody else, but I'm going to prepare for every visit, do the hard work, watch the film. He won the Lions over. So that's great, right? From pre-draft. Then he gets in to OTAs. He was treated as the team's RB3 because Jahmyr Gibbs was out. So think about that. We know Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, but then that next running back there, who's it going to be? And so to see Vaki get significant amount of reps, as even with the first and second team, they're extremely valuable, even without pads. Vaki was one of the most impressive new players at minicamp and OTAs, but nothing makes me more confident about his potential than Vaki able to learn quickly. Scotty Montgomery, what he taught him, we just looked at that. And so the question whether Vaki can make enough early progress to jump Craig Reynolds on the depth chart, and my first impression is clearly a yes. This is big, and I've talked about this a lot. Craig Reynolds is a really good story, and he plays well when he's in there, no question. But he doesn't play a lot, and I think there's a reason for that. Number one, thankfully, we're blessed with two really good running backs. But I think there's some explosiveness. There's some different things that Craig Reynolds just doesn't have, and they like Craig Reynolds. There's no question about that. But it feels like, man, what an opportunity for Vaki to get in, be that RB3. Then he can he can play if one of the top two guys gets injured. Now you've got another guy, so you're still got two guys, right? And you're not putting the whole thing on Montgomery or Jahmyr Gibbs, because I do believe there's diminishing returns at some point where it's like, play Jahmyr Gibbs more. Everybody wants to get more Jahmyr Gibbs. I get that, but at some point you can't keep playing him or the other or Montgomery. My point is that two running backs is so beneficial. It just keeps both guys fresh, keeps them in the game, keeps them motivated. All that stuff. You're a running back. It's hard to operate being the main ball carrier in today's NFL. Just is. So it's like you can kind of keep that two-man rotation if one of those guys were to get hurt. I absolutely love that. Now, a couple other things from OTAs as we get, because again, we're getting ready for training camp. Duh. So we kind of looking back to like, what are some of the things that have happened? And the wide receiver 3 job wide open. That's another storyline as we go into training camp. Another one is Levi Onwuzurike. He still has a legitimate shot to make an impact. There for a minute, I was like, can he even make the team? Like, what is this guy even doing? He's always injured. Like, what's the thing? He's a huge, I mean, this is, without like getting too dramatic, it's like, let's just be serious for a second, though. This guy could be such a big piece. We need defensive tackle help. We get DJ Reader. We have Aleem McNeil. That we know. Then after that, it's like, what do we got? Because we've been trying to find those defensive tackles since Brad Holmes has gotten here. And it's just like, man, so can you imagine if we have Levi in there? We've got depth at the defensive tackle position. We're rotating defensive tackles, just like I talked about with the running backs. What if you could do that with the defensive tackles? We're keeping guys fresh, rotating. Aleem gets out a little bit. So that, keep an eye on that one with Levi, because all accounts he's had a great spring and offseason so far. Broderick Martin, Josh Paschal, and Wingo and Levi. You take the top two guys here, right? And they're rotating in. I mean, geez, that'd be huge. Kicker competition is going to be a big one. It's fun to watch just because like we need a kicker amazingly still. I don't know why. How can we still need a kicker? But we do. Cornerback room, much improved. I love this. I'm using passive language here only because I felt similar last year. 100% agree. Remember Cam Sutton? We were so pumped. He was great. He was great in the beginning of the year. Then something fell off and he was just terrible. It's like, what the heck? Jerry Jacobs. Oh man, Jerry Jacobs. He's physical. He's big. He's terrible. It's like, oh my gosh. So cautiously just think, okay, corners, secondary, much, much better. So a lot to look forward to as we get into training camp. Enjoy the 4th of July, and we'll see all of you on the next one.